I spent 2,000 yuan treating my parents to a lavish meal. But when it was time to pay, the waiter handed me a bill for 62,000 yuan. A man put his son's 60,000 yuan college admission banquet on your tab. He even left a note saying your uncle had authorized it. I looked at that note full of holes and called the police. Hello. I have been scammed at a restaurant. The amount is 60,000 yuan. I did not speak loudly, but in this restaurant, known for its tranquil elegance, the words rang through the lobby as clearly as a clap of thunder. That last sentence. The amount is 60,000 yuan. Left nearby diners with their chopsticks frozen midair. My parents were still stunned and confused. Feng. Could there be some mistake? Hang up first. Let us ask around and get this straight. Exactly. Calling the police? Is it really that serious? What if some distant relative got drunk and was just joking? I did not hang up. I gave the dispatcher the restaurant's address. Yes, I am here right now. I can cooperate with the investigation at any time. The call ended. An eerie silence fell over the entire lobby. Less than a minute later, a middle-aged man with a beer belly, wearing a crisp suit, hurried out. Sir, we can talk this out. Why involve the police? It may just be a misunderstanding. The note says it was your uncle, does it not? Maybe he was just playing a joke on you, trying to give you a surprise. He said it so casually, as if 60,000 yuan were a harmless joke, but my parents were intimidated by his explanation and his air of authority. Yes, Manager Zhao is right. We will ask around. Maybe it really was some irresponsible relative. Do we have any relative named Gain? In that instant, an inexplicable rage flared inside me. My parents, because of their kindness, seemed so helpless in the face of this. This was exactly the situation scammers and unscrupulous businesses love to see. I took a deep breath. Manager Zhao. First, let me repeat myself. I, nor anyone in my family, has a relative we could call Uncle Gang. Second, for a bill totaling 60,000 yuan, without the account holder's signature, without a confirmation call, or any form of pre-authorization, your restaurant relied on nothing but a note from an unknown source to charge it directly to my account. Tell me, is this how you treat your customers? That gentleman seemed very familiar with your family, and he swore you had authorized it. That is why I cut him off immediately, without mercy. They seemed familiar? He swore it was true. That is your risk control standard for an upscale restaurant. I looked around, pointing at the lavish crystal chandelier overhead and the expensive artwork on the walls. You spend hundreds of thousands, even millions of yuan, on this decor. It is dripping in gold and splendor. Yet your most basic management procedures are worse than the spicy soup stall downstairs, at the mouth of the alley. Even the woman at that stall asks before adding an egg. He is right. That is 60,000 yuan. They just charged it to him. This restaurant's management is a complete mess. Who would dare eat here again? What if they charge someone else's bill to me next time? The more you think about it, the scarier it gets. Manager Zhao could no longer hide his embarrassment. Sir, stop making a scene here. You are seriously disrupting our business. Let me tell you, this bill has been checked, and there is no problem with it. If you do not settle this bill today, we have the right to detain you and prevent you from leaving. A threat, a blatant threat. Instead of being afraid, I laughed. I pulled out my phone, aimed it at his face twisted with rage, and hit record. Fine. Say that again. Say it to my camera, in front of all these guests. Say it again, clearly, before they arrive. Your restaurant intends to illegally detain me. Manager Zhao's arrogance vanished instantly. His mouth opened and closed, but he could not force out another word. 10 minutes later, red and blue police lights flashed wildly outside the restaurant entrance. 2 officers pushed through the doors. The older officer leading them wore a stern expression, while the younger one immediately activated his body camera. The moment the police appeared, the oppressive tension in the lobby instantly broke. Every eye in the room snapped toward the entrance. Manager Zhao, so overbearing just moments ago, instantly changed his tune. His dark scowl became frantic fawning. He rushed over in a little trot, bending so low his waist nearly touched the floor. Oh, officers, you have worked hard, coming all this way in such heat. It is nothing, really, just a small misunderstanding. It is purely a private family matter. his fat body shoved forward desperately, trying to block the officer's view, and pulled him aside to settle it privately. Officer Wang had seen every kind of situation. With a cold face, he brushed past him, his sharp gaze fixed on me as he strode over. "Hello. Did you call the police?" I did. In front of the officers, I laid out every detail from start to finish. No embellishment, no sob story. Like a work report, I spoke only in facts. That is what happened. This is the 60,000 yuan bill. And this is the note left by the man posing as my uncle. I handed over the bill and that worthless note. Officer Wang took them. The younger officer immediately raised his body camera and filmed the evidence at close range. Pointing at the note, I exposed the holes in their story. Look. First, this paper has only a scribbled character for gang. No full name, no phone number. Would a relative genuinely treating us to dinner act like a thief? Second, the note says I agreed. Where is the proof? There is no recording, no screenshot, nothing. The restaurant dumped a 60,000 yuan bill on me based on that alone. Who do you think you are fooling? After Officer Wang heard me out, his gaze darkened, and he nodded. He stared hard at the ashen-faced manager Zhao. How do you explain the questions this customer raised? A 60,000 yuan bill. And you did not even make a phone call. You did not verify it with Mr. Lin in person either? Manager Zhao began sweating profusely. Cold sweat streamed down his greasy, fleshy face. Officer. Mr. Liu sounded so convincing. And they seemed so familiar with each other. That is why we let down our guard. His voice grew quieter with every word. Even he knew that pathetic excuse was weak. Just as the two sides reached a stalemate, the situation suddenly took a turn. The terrified receptionist from earlier stumbled over with a cordless phone in her hands, as though she were holding a ticking bomb. Manager Zhao. There is a call from Mr. Lin. He says he is his uncle. Uncle. The instant those words were spoken, the entire room fell deathly silent, led by the two officers. Everyone stared fixedly at the phone. I sneered inwardly. There was a safe road, but he would not take it. Instead, he charged straight into hell. The police were already here, ready to take him in. Yet this scammer still came offering himself up. He must have scammed people so long he had lost touch with reality. Did he really think his slick mouth could make black into white? A sharp glint flashed in Officer Wang's eyes. Without changing expression, he gave a signal. Turn on the recording. The younger officer understood at once. He immediately readied the equipment. Officer Wang signaled to me. Answer it. I grabbed the trembling phone from the server's hands, then put it on speaker before everyone. A slick, greasy male voice, warm only by pretense, blared from the speaker and filled the lobby. Hello. Is that Feng? It is your uncle Liu Gang. His overly familiar tone was nauseating. He acted as though we were blood relatives reunited after years apart. My mother stood behind me, shaking her head in confusion. I do not know him. My father was on full alert beside me, his brow knotted tight. Gripping the phone, I spoke in an icy voice. I do not know you. The man hurriedly covered it with an awkward laugh. Oh, come on. You kid. You have really forgotten your old uncle. How could you not know me? When you were little, I even held you in my arms, at that little park downstairs from your home. Do you not remember? His script was polished. Every line was vague enough to work on anyone. He did not dare name a specific place, but I was not falling for it. I watched coldly, letting him keep up his act. He thought I had taken the bait, and started playing the elder. Feng, you are treating your parents to dinner today, to celebrate their wedding anniversary. Such wonderful news. When I heard about it, I was happy for you. So I thought. My son is also holding an admission banquet today. To happy occasions make it even better. Why not celebrate together? We are all family. No need to keep score. The first wave of emotional blackmail came right on cue. We are family. Why talk like strangers? You have made something of yourself now. You run a big business out there, making big money. Surely you cannot begrudge your uncle one little meal. Listen to your uncle. Do not forget where you came from. Your parents are right here today, in front of all these people. You called the police and caused this scene. Are you not humiliating your parents? Making them unable to hold their heads up before the relatives? Every word struck at the weak spot of decent people. He relentlessly used family and reputation to pressure me, trying to force me into submission. My father could not contain his anger any longer. He snatched the phone. Who are you? I am warning you. Do not spout nonsense. Do not ruin my son's reputation. Our family has no relative like you. Dad exploded on the spot. His fierce protectiveness filled me with strength. I took back the phone. It was time to strike back. Mr. Liu, right? Since you claim to be my uncle, a relative of my family, then this is simple. My voice was cold as ice, and I cut straight to the point. I paused deliberately for a second, leaving everyone in suspense. Right now, in front of these officers, tell me my paternal grandparents' names. Or, my maternal grandparents' names will do. If you get even one right, this 60,000 yuan, I will pay without another word. I will settle the bill immediately. The voice that had been ranting moments ago instantly went silent. The speakerphone was thick with frozen, awkward silence. No one in the lobby even seemed to breathe. Manager Zhao's face turned sickly green. He looked like he had swallowed a live fly. After holding back for a few seconds, the scammer finally lost it. His disguise shattered completely. His tone broke at once, revealing his true deadbeat nature. You little brat. What the hell is wrong with you? Is that any way to speak to an elder? You got a little education, and now you think you are somebody. I am telling you, do not push your luck. This money today, you are paying it whether you like it or not. Otherwise, you will regret it. In an instant, the caring uncle became a thug making threats. So you are angry now, are you? I gave a cold laugh. Respect is earned, not handed to you by others. Which private room are you dining in? Stop hiding behind the phone. The officers would like to discuss this family matter with you face to face. You would not dare. The man on the other end barked like a rabid dog. He spewed abuse to hide his helpless rage. Then came a sharp click. He hung up and fled in panic. The lobby fell deathly silent. The onlookers finally understood everything. Their eyes were full of contempt. After putting down the phone, Officer Wang fixed his gaze on the terrified manager Zhao. Officer Wang's eyes were like blades, and his voice was frighteningly cold. Manager Zhao, now, do you still think this is a family matter? Manager Zhao's legs gave out, and he nearly dropped to his knees. He knew perfectly well. He had caused a disaster beyond repair. The officers looked ready to skin him alive. Immediately, pull up the footage from your restaurant lobby, the front desk, and every public area camera. Now, his authority was overwhelming, leaving no room for argument. The manager was scared out of his wits. He scrambled straight for the security room. Every trace of his arrogance had been crushed. Turning back, Officer Wang's tone softened. Mr. Lin, please think back once more. Between entering and taking your seat, did you notice anyone suspicious? I immediately replayed everything in my mind. My professional instincts kicked in. I always make a habit of sizing up everyone around me. When we entered, we went straight to a window table. The older man at the next table had acted very strangely. He was around 50, wearing an oversized jacket, and seemed deeply uneasy. He kept sneaking shifty glances our way. While talking, he kept turning toward us and straining to listen. At the time, I thought he was only curious. I did not pay much attention to him. Thinking back now, he must have been the scammer. Officer Wang nodded. Do you remember his features? A square face, darker skin, slightly balding, with many wrinkles at the corners of his eyes when he smiled. He looked very honest and harmless. People with such harmless-looking faces are often the most dangerous scammers. As soon as I finished speaking, Manager Zhao rushed back with a technician carrying a computer. He practically dropped to his knees in submission. Drenched in sweat, he desperately tried to ingratiate himself. Officer, we pulled it up. It is all here. That admission banquet that cost 60,000 yuan. There must be registration information for it. Who made the booking? What phone number did they leave? The manager slapped his forehead. He raced back to the front desk to search the records. He quickly ran back clutching the reservation book. His trembling finger pointed at a page. I found it. The reserved private room is the peony room in the upstairs VIP section. The booking is under Liu Xiaohui. The listed number is the one that just called. The registered name is Liu Gang. That was conclusive proof. Every clue fit perfectly together. The scammer had not gone anywhere. He was hiding in this very building. Call for backup. Seal off the peony room. Secure everyone at the scene. The other officers moved swiftly. They immediately raised their radios, called for backup, and locked down the scene. Just then, the security footage came up. The image was crystal clear. The moment we sat down, that middle-aged man in the dark jacket, Liu Gang, stood up. pretending to make a call. He paced back and forth beside the next table. His ears were perked the entire time, as he tried desperately to listen in on us. In the footage, I was taking out the wedding anniversary gift I had prepared for Mom, a gleaming pearl necklace, and putting it around her neck myself. My parents could not stop smiling. Our whole family was so happy together. But Liu Gang stood just a few steps away, staring intently at that necklace. His eyes gleamed. His mind was racing with schemes. Watching it sent a chill down my spine. So from the moment we walked in, that old fox had marked my entire family as targets. Then came footage that made me even angrier. After dinner, we got up and headed out. We happened to run into Liu Gang as he was heading for the front desk. In the footage, he suddenly became wildly animated. He frantically bowed and nodded at my parents. His lips kept moving, as if he were offering congratulations. My parents thought he was just a drunk customer from another table who had mistaken them for someone else. Out of politeness, they smiled and nodded back. Who could have guessed that single polite nod would become his ironclad proof that he knew our family well? At that sight, Mom trembled all over with rage. A wave of lingering fear washed over her. Oh my God, how could someone be this evil? The later footage delivered undeniable proof. Liu Gang walked up to the front desk. He pulled out a scrap of paper he had prepared and slapped it down before the young server. He spun one lie after another, while pointing at our retreating figures. His act was frighteningly convincing. His rapid-fire routine completely fooled the server. She actually accepted the note. The entire scheme to get something for nothing was captured in full by the cameras. The truth was finally laid bare. Manager Zhao stared at the computer screen. His face was gray as stove soot. He knew perfectly well there was no way his restaurant could escape blame this time. He turned around, his voice shaking as though he were begging for mercy. Mr. Lin, I am sorry. This was absolutely a serious failure on our part. We were blind. Our management was inadequate. Please, could you? It is too late for that now. I demand that this be handled according to the law. The moment I finished speaking, several backup officers rushed into the lobby. Officer Wang made a sweeping gesture. His gaze was fierce. He led the officers straight to the elevator. Their target was upstairs. The peony room. This carefully planned chain of scams was about to collapse in the most spectacular way. The real show was about to begin. Outside the peony room, the heavy mahogany doors were shut tight. They were nearly soundproof. Outside, the officers stood ready to strike. The tension was at its peak. Inside, the scammer's family was still toasting one another, drinking in high spirits. Officer Wang did not even bother knocking. He simply jerked his chin at the officers behind him. Two officers took positions on either side, then violently shoved the doors open. They burst open with a deafening bang. The doors slammed hard against the walls, sending echoes through the corridor. The room's boisterous toast were cut off instantly. Everyone was scared senseless by the sudden entrance. Around an enormous round table, more than 20 people sat packed shoulder to shoulder. At the head of the table, the balding man in the dark jacket was raising a glass. His face was flushed from drinking. He was drunkenly spouting bullshit, spittle flying everywhere. That bastard was the man from the footage. The scheming scammer, Liu Gang. The instant he saw the officers charging in, the wild grin on his face froze. His raised glass stopped dead in midair. Beside him sat a boy with a youthful face. He had to be his son, Liu Xiaowei. He still wore the proud look of an incoming college student. Now, he was scared senseless. Officer Wang's knife-sharp gaze pinned Liu Gang in place. His booming voice filled the room. Liu Gang, you are suspected of fraud. Come with us immediately. The moment he said that, the entire room erupted. The fright knocked most of Liu Gang's drunken haze away. He shot to his feet. He forced out a fake smile uglier than a cry, frantically waving his hands. Officer. Oh, come on. There has to be some mistake. What fraud? I was only joking with my own nephew. The brat does not know any better. Why did he actually call the police? His shifty eyes looked past the officer's shoulders and spotted me standing behind them, my face icy. He instantly switched into character, putting on the look of an elder, hurt and outraged. Feng, you kid. How can you be so thoughtless? Hurry and explain it to the police. Why make such a scene between family? Today is your younger brother's college celebration, and you pull something like this. How am I supposed to face anyone after this? That old bastard's skill at turning the tables was truly masterful. All those aunts, uncles, and distant relatives at the table snapped out of their shock and immediately began chiming in for him. Exactly. It is such a trivial matter. Why call the police on your own family? Young people these days are so cold and heartless. An elder gives you a way out, and you still will not take it. Young man, that is enough already. Look how worried you have made your uncle. Do not make things harder for the elders in your family. They buzzed around like flies, trying to use their numbers and social pressure to force me to yield. They were determined to twist black into white. Mom was easily swayed, and she began to hesitate again. She quietly tugged at my sleeve, her eyes full of pleading. She thought the scene had become too ugly and wanted me to give in and let it go. Dad saw through her at once. He reached out and firmly covered Mom's hand. Without a word, he stepped forward. He stood beside me like a mountain, shielding me. That one gesture gave me all the confidence I needed. Facing the spit flying from those foolish old relatives, I pushed through the crowd and confronted Liu Gang face to face. I could not be bothered arguing with him. I did not spare those relatives even a glance. I pulled out my phone, found the recording of our recent call, and decisively pressed play. You little punk. What the hell is wrong with you? Is that any way to speak to an elder? I am warning you. Do not push your luck. This bill today. You will pay it whether you want to or not. Pay it, or I will make you regret it. Liu Gang's hysterical, foul-mouthed roar blasted from the speaker for everyone in the room to hear. The peony room, which had been deafening moments ago, fell utterly silent. A pin dropping could have been heard. Every voice defending him fell silent. His relatives and friends were completely dumbfounded. Their expressions were more ridiculous than the last. I stopped the recording and raised my head. My eyes bored into Liu Gang's like nails. My dear uncle. On the phone just now. You were not acting like this. My voice was not loud, but every word was like a heavy hammer, pounding straight into Liu Gang's skull. You could not even say what my actual grandparents were called. You could not squeeze out a single word. Liu Gang's old face instantly cycled through every color imaginable, from a showy, liver-red flush, to the dead fish white of public humiliation, then to the livid blue-gray of humiliation, until he finally went gray as a rag. Beside him, his son Liu Xiaowei had turned red-faced, shame and anger shattering everything he believed in. He abruptly lowered his head, wishing the ground would swallow him whole. Officer Wang's icy voice came down hard, delivering the final verdict on this farce. Still making up lies? Security footage and the recording. The evidence is irrefutable. Unwilling to hear another word of his nonsense, he waved to the officers behind him. With a sharp click, a pair of silver bracelets, in front of his entire family, were locked tightly round the hand he had just raised a glass with. His greasy, boastful paw. Liu Gang crumpled like a dead dog, limp and boneless. Head hanging, he was dragged outside by the police. The college celebration that had been so grand moments ago became a massive public humiliation in seconds. It was the laughingstock of the room. Just as he was about to be escorted out, a middle-aged woman came running after us, sobbing hysterically. She grabbed my arm in a desperate grip. Young man, please show mercy and let him go. This had to be Liu Gang's wife, Liu Xiaohui's mother. Her face was streaked with tears and snot, her hair wild and disheveled. Her eyes were full of terror and pleading. He just lost his mind for a moment. He really is not a bad man. Liu Gang had been ruined by gambling lately. He owes a fortune in loan shark debts and has been chased all over town. This college celebration was only to keep up appearances, to show off in front of his relatives. Then he planned to find some poor sucker to cover the outrageous meal bill without anyone noticing. He did it for his son. What father does not want his son to hold his head high? He wanted him to start college in style. He was desperate. That is why he came up with this terrible plan. She wept as though her heart were breaking. Her speech was moral blackmail at its absolute worst. Every other word was about doing it for her child, as if that gave her a get-out-of-jail-free card, to excuse every rotten thing they had done. Mom was kind-hearted by nature. Hearing the woman cry so miserably, then invoke her child, made Mom's sympathy surge at once. Her lips parted as she prepared to plead for the con artist. I saw it immediately. I quickly put a hand on Mom's shoulder, giving her a reassuring look to steady her. Then I turned and glared at that unhinged woman, who still would not let go. My tone was freezing, heavy with pressure. Ma'am, let me ask you one thing. Because you want your son to look good, does that give you the right to defraud people of their hard-earned money? Because you want your son to shine, Does that mean you can treat my own parents, who came here to celebrate their anniversary today, as easy marks you can exploit whenever you please? Who will restore my parents' dignity and our emotional suffering? Who will pay for that? Each sentence struck like a blade, deadly in succession. They shredded her tearful performance of maternal love. I left her so thoroughly speechless that she could not utter a sound. Her grip on my arm fell away like a deflated balloon. It was absurd. Why? Why is your precious prince treated like treasure, while everyone else's parents are supposed to be treated like dirt? Why does your family being broke make you right, and make it acceptable to drain other people's hard-earned money? Just then, Liu Xiaowei, the future college student who had kept his head down in silence, quietly stepped forward. He did not throw a tantrum like his mother. Instead, he walked straight up to me. His eyes were red-rimmed, and he gave me a deep, 90-degree bow. I am sorry, big brother. I am so sorry. This whole mess is my father's doing. He has dragged you all into it. Even if I have to work construction, I will sell everything I own to pay you back. In the boy's eyes, there was none of his father's shifty-eyed deceit, nor his mother's shameless persistence. There was only the shame of wanting to crawl into a hole, and a sense of responsibility he was forcing himself to carry. Looking at this half-grown boy, who was nothing like his deadbeat father, my emotions were a tangled mess. When all was said and done, he was also a victim of his own father. What should have been a joyous day was smeared with filth by his father, filth he could never wash away. I looked at him in silence for several seconds. This is not your fault, but your father must answer for the terrible things he has done, and bear the legal consequences. As for this bill, I will not pay a single cent. The restaurant's management was utterly incompetent. They caused this enormous disaster, so they must take full responsibility. The moment I said that, the mother and son froze. Manager Zhao shuddered in fear, ignoring the weeping mother and son beside me. I walked straight up to Manager Zhao. Mom and Dad followed behind me, standing tall. I stared at his face, which looked grimmer than a mourner's at a funeral. My voice turning ice-cold. Now, the man has been arrested. Manager Zhao, it is time we settle this 60,000 yuan mess, along with compensation for my family's emotional distress. Back in the first-floor lobby, the atmosphere was completely different from before. Most of the spectators had dispersed. Only my family and the restaurant staff remained. Manager Zhao's arrogant habit of looking down on people was gone without a trace. He trailed after me like a lackey, bowing and scraping. Mr. Lin, please calm down. What happened today? Every bit of it is the restaurant's fault. Our management failed, and our staff failed to see what was right in front of them. That is why your parents suffered such an injustice. How about this? We will waive your family's 2,000 yuan bill today, as an apology. As for that 60,000 yuan bill, you have my absolute assurance. The restaurant will cover all of it. You will not have to pay a single cent. Would this resolution be acceptable? His eyes were full of cautious hope, as he looked to me eagerly for an answer. He wanted to settle this privately by comping our meal, and quietly write off the bad debt himself. This was likely the last card he had left to play, and the greatest concession he could offer. An ordinary person might have accepted that offer after such a mess. After all, they would lose no money and get a free meal. But I was not buying it. I picked up my teacup and slowly blew the tea leaves aside. Without taking a sip, I slammed it heavily onto the table. With a sharp crack, I lifted my eyes and fixed them on him, then shook my head without hesitation. Manager Zhao, have you misunderstood the point here? First, I pay for what I eat. It is only right that we pay the 2,000 yuan we spent. I will pay every cent of it. I did not come here to beg for handouts or take advantage of you. I came here to defend my rights. That 60,000 yuan bad debt had nothing to do with me in the first place. You let the con artist in through your own negligence. You should have borne the loss caused by that con artist from the start. You are using your own mess as bargaining leverage to make me keep quiet and let this go. Do you not see how ridiculous that is? Those few words hit him hard. His fake smile froze on his face. After all his years as a manager, he had probably never met anyone as impossible to intimidate or bribe as me. I leaned forward, locking my gaze on him. What we need to discuss now is not that 60,000 yuan at all. It is the compensation your restaurant must pay to me and my family. Compensation? The fat man's eyes nearly popped out of his head. It was as if he had heard an alien language. You heard me right. Compensation. I laid it all out for him and made the accounting crystal clear. First, today is my parents' 30th wedding anniversary because you let that con artist in. The two of them were scared half to death. A happy celebration turned into the scene of a crime thriller. For that emotional distress, you will pay, no question. Second, I was publicly called an ungrateful son, with fingers pointed in my face, threatened over the phone by a con artist, and personally threatened by you with being detained. My dignity and personal safety were both violated. For that emotional distress, you will pay again. Third, cleaning up your enormous mess wasted a great deal of my time and energy, and disrupted my work schedule. For my lost work time, you will pay that too. With every point I made, his face turned another shade paler. By the time I finished all three, he was as bloodless as a sheet of paper. I pulled a tablet from my bag and brought up the legal provisions I had prepared while waiting for the police. I shoved it right under his nose. Read Articles 7 and 10 of the Consumer Rights Protection Law carefully. Consumers have the right to refuse forced transactions. They have the right to personal and property safety and to dignity free from violation. In this fiasco, your restaurant failed to conduct proper safety checks, and after it happened, you colluded with the con artist, joining him in pressuring me. At best, this is gross negligence. At worst, you are an accomplice to a fraudster. Staring at the black and white legal text on the screen, sweat poured down his forehead like a faucet. He never would have imagined that this mild-looking, bespectacled young man before him not only had a razor-sharp tongue and a ruthless head for numbers, but also knew the damn law inside and out. While he was down, I went for the kill. I changed tack and struck straight at his weakest point. Manager Zhao, I work in venture capital. The instant I said those words, he gave a violent shudder. When we assess an investment, we do not only look at potential profits, we care even more about risk control and reputation. Your restaurant is part of a major, nationwide upscale chain. How much is that prestigious brand worth? You know better than I do. If today's mess were exposed online, a con artist targeting victims with precision, the restaurant's incompetent management, and a manager threatening customers, how badly do you think your brand would be shattered? How far would headquarters stock price fall? The money that would vanish would cover how many 60,000 yuan bills when that disaster hits? Can you handle it? That final question, one delivered slowly on purpose, giving it maximum impact. Every word was like a sledgehammer, swinging full force into his chest. Under my methodical, professional dismantling, his psychological defenses collapsed. He did not dare utter another word. Shaking uncontrollably, he pulled out his phone and frantically called for help. Hello, Director Chen? The sky is falling. His voice quivered like he was about to wet himself. Mom and Dad stood nearby, watching the entire time as I utterly outclassed him, turning the manager who bullied others with borrowed power into a beaten stray dog. The panic in their eyes had long since vanished. All that remained was fierce parental pride and relief. I knew perfectly well, in this hard-fought compensation battle, I had already crushed the other side. An hour later, the phone in my pocket rang. It was Officer Wang, right there over the phone. He gave me the inside scoop on what they had uncovered in the station's surprise interrogation. That fake Uncle Liu gang had spilled absolutely everything. Just as I had guessed, he was a seasoned repeat offender. His real name was Liu Gang, a local thug with no real job, and a hopeless gambler. He owed over 100,000 yuan in loan shark debts. He had been using this trick, falsely claiming kinship to mooch meals and drinks, and had pulled it off repeatedly in nearby counties. He had eaten plenty of meals worth hundreds or thousands without pain. Each time, his victims saw that the amount was not much, and felt reporting it to the police was too embarrassing, or genuinely thought he had mistaken them for relatives. So they swallowed the bitter pill in silence, letting him profit more and more from the scam. It made him completely brazen. He had developed his own playbook for the scam. During interrogation, he confessed to it all. His scam followed for steps, like an assembly line for fraud: scouting, eavesdropping, making contact, forcing the bill onto them. Step 1, scouting. He would stake out upscale restaurants, casting his net for big fish. He profiled his targets with chilling precision. He picked families who looked well off, who came with the whole family, with both elderly people and children, sharing a warm, happy family meal. Because these old foxes knew full well, such families valued affection and cared desperately about saving face. They were the fattest prey on the chopping block. Step 2, eavesdropping. Once a target was seated, he would move to the next table, straining his ears to piece together information. Who was the grandfather? Who was the grandson? What they were celebrating, and what jobs they held. He learned it all. Every scrap of information became ammunition for his later claim of kinship. Step 3. Making contact. Once he knew the details, he would wait until you went to the restroom or paid the bill, then force a friendly introduction on the older relatives. He might casually say, "Brother, sister-in-law, it has been so long." Or he would blurt out something like, "Wishing you prosperity." Most people will not be rude to someone who greets them warmly. Even if they did not recognize him, most people would politely nod. That single nod became his perfect proof before the staff that they knew each other. Step 4. Forcing the bill onto them. At checkout, he would dump an outrageous bill in your lap, using his supposed kinship and lies that you had agreed to shove the responsibility onto you. Once exposed, he would immediately bombard you with manipulative phone calls. He would accuse you of disrespecting him, of being an ungrateful, heartless traitor, and worse. He wielded emotional blackmail with ruthless skill, forcing you to pay just to make the trouble stop. Officer Wang kept shaking his head over the phone. This kind of targeted scam weaponized family ties and social pride, striking straight at decent people's weakest points. It was sick beyond all belief. After hearing his entire scheme, my back broke out in a cold sweat. So that was it. From the second we stepped through the restaurant doors, my family had already been on his menu. The reasons that bastard chose us were even more chilling. First, he saw me put that pearl necklace around my mother's neck. To his filthy eyes, it screamed, "Rich, gullible targets, come and get them." Second, our family looked so happy together. Mom and Dad plainly looked like kind-hearted, honest people. He saw at once that we cared about appearances, and was certain we would swallow the loss to keep the peace. When he overheard that we were celebrating a wedding anniversary, he became even more determined to fleece us. He believed the more a family valued affection, the easier it was to manipulate its women and children through family sentiment, and pressure them into pain to end it. He had calculated every step down to the smallest detail, even how he would run into my parents and get their nod. He had replayed it in his mind 800 times already. Every link fit perfectly together, each step targeting humanity's most fatal weaknesses. After hearing all those details, I hardly dared think about it. If I had backed down even a little today, if I had listened to Mom and settled privately, if his lofty nonsense over the phone had talked me in circles, then that massive 60,000 yuan trap would have fallen squarely on my family. After Mom heard the police report, she patted her chest, trying to catch her breath. Good heavens, this was not just a scam. That monster would devour people whole and leave nothing behind. Dad stood beside her, his face dark. The more he thought about it, the more frightened he became. I ended the call. The fire in my chest did not die down. It only burned hotter. I turned around and laid out this freshly uncovered, explosive truth, exactly as it was, without a trace of emotion. For Manager Zhao, who was pacing in panic, I told him straight to his face. Liu Gang was a seasoned criminal, and his methods were utterly vile. As for my family, we became targets solely because your restaurant security is full of holes, handing us over as helpless sheep for the slaughter. These bombshell revelations would be my strongest leverage against the restaurant. Half an hour later, the restaurant's regional director finally showed up, dragging her feet. She was a woman in her 30s, dressed in a custom designer suit, with immaculate makeup. Everything about her screamed corporate executive. But beneath that carefully crafted presence, she radiated nothing but lofty, condescending arrogance. Her surname was Chen. She was Director Chen, the one Manager Zhao had called for help. She began with a hollow, robotic apology, then got straight to the point. With the lofty air of someone dispensing charity, she tried to brush the whole matter aside. Slowly, she reached into her designer handbag and took out a stack of gaudy printed vouchers. She pushed them right in front of me. "Mr. Lin, what happened this time was indeed mishandled by our branch. To make amends, please accept these 5,000 yuan vouchers. You may use them at any restaurant in our group. We hope your family will visit us often in the future and give us more chances to improve." Her lofty tone was exactly how one would dismiss a beggar. Did she really think 5,000 yuan in vouchers would fool anyone? Staring at that pile of worthless paper on the table, I was so angry I laughed. My family had been scammed and threatened, publicly slandered, and our 30th anniversary celebration had been completely ruined. And in the end, their so-called apology was forcing me to spend my own money at this dump, where they could not even protect their customers' safety. Their arrogance knew no bounds. It was utterly absurd. I did not even glance at them. I shoved the stack of worthless vouchers back untouched, as though they would dirty my hands. I kept my voice low, but every word cut like a blade. Director Chen, are you saying, after my family suffered this much, we will not receive a cent in compensation, and still have to spend our own money to boost your sales? The mask-like smile on Director Chen's face instantly cracked. She never expected that not only would I refuse to play along, I would slap her smug dignity straight into the dirt. Mr. Lin, we have already written off the 60,000 yuan bill. We are absorbing the loss ourselves, and now we have shown such sincere goodwill. Yet you keep making a scene. Are you really going to keep pushing your luck? At last, she could not keep up the act. Her voice was full of impatience and accusatory blame. Written off the 60,000 yuan bill? I shot to my feet, looming over her and staring her down. My eyes were full of contempt. That garbage bill was never my responsibility. You caused this mess through your own incompetence. Is it not only right that you clean it up yourselves? So, how did it become? In your mouth, some grand favor from heaven? And that bullshit you call goodwill? I cast a cold glance over that stack of paper. Forgive my bluntness, but all I see is indifference and naked insult. Director Chen's face darkened like a thundercloud. She folded her arms and leaned back in her chair. Her eyes were as cold as a viper's. Then, what do you want? Name your price. I am warning you. Do not push your luck. Looking at her shameless, unrepentant face, I gave up any thought of reasoning with trash like her. With a cold laugh, I grabbed my bag and my parents' belongings. What do I want? You will find out soon enough. With that warning thrown down, I did not spare her another look. I took my parents straight to the front desk. As those just stared like they had seen a ghost, I pulled out my card and paid our own 2,088 yuan bill, in full, down to the last cent. Then I tore off the receipt and stormed out of that revolting restaurant without looking back. Once home, I settled my shaken parents, pulled out my laptop, and got to work. Late that night, the room echoed only with the furious pounding of keys. I laid out every detail of the colossal trap we had fallen into that afternoon, exactly as it happened, without leaving out even a punctuation mark. From the 60 to 1,000 yuan extortionate bill, to that fat manager's threats and intimidation, from that shameless freeloader's manipulative phone call, to the police arriving to arrest him, including the police explanation of the scam's tactics, and Director Chen's disgusting attempt to lord it over us with 5,000 yuan in vouchers. Every detail, every conversation, I recreated them exactly as they happened, with hard proof in every word. Then I released the damning evidence. The video of the manager threatening to detain us, the scammer's panicked voice recording, and the blurred image of the outrageous bill. Each one was as devastating as Thor's hammer. I posted them all online, one by one. At the end of the post, I typed a headline powerful enough to blow up the whole city. Local warning. Celebrating my parents' anniversary in an upscale restaurant costing over 1,000 yuan per person, only for a stranger to force a 60,000 yuan bill on us. Regional director throws 5,000 yuan in vouchers at me to buy my silence. After checking everything, I clicked the mouse. The post went everywhere online. The city's largest forum, restaurant review platforms, and my personal Weibo. A three-pronged blast across every platform. I confirmed the post. I knew perfectly well. The real counterattack had only just begun. The internet's explosive power was beyond anything I imagined. Less than an hour after I posted it, my phone notifications went insane, ringing without pause. Comments, shares, and likes shot upward like mad. Holy hell, 60,000 yuan? Has this dump gone insane chasing money? That con artist methods are fucking disgusting. He specifically targets happy families. He is a complete psychopath. The blogger stayed cool under pressure, called the police, recorded everything, and took down the manager flawlessly. Absolutely badass, a total intellectual beatdown. I am cheering for you. 5,000 yuan in vouchers? I am dying. Does this restaurant's public relations team have no brains? At first, the online spectators were only cursing the scammer and standing up for my family. But soon, the tide of public opinion suddenly exploded. My hard-hitting expose was like a depth charge, blasting all this restaurant's buried filth into the open. The comment section instantly spiraled out of control, becoming an internet-wide outpouring of grievances against the crooked restaurant. Finally, someone has exposed this crooked restaurant. The private room we booked for our company event was stolen from us last time. The manager played dead and did not dare say a word. I once wandered into their kitchen by mistake. What I saw was beyond description. It was enough to make a dog throw up. I am done with this place for good. Their service is atrocious. Every waiter wears a funeral face, acting like they are better than everyone else. Who do they think they are? I found a steel scrubber in my food. When I demanded an explanation, they only took one dish off the bill. What did they take me for, a beggar? Countless people who had been mistreated by that restaurant gathered beneath my post, pouring out their grievances. One raw, painful testimony after another ripped apart this dump's so-called upscale facade, exposing the stinking hypocrisy beneath it. The moment I woke up the next day, I grabbed my phone and saw that the story had exploded. It was firmly #1 on the local trending list. Restaurant's outrageous bill. New family manipulation scam. 5,000 yuan vouchers. Several hashtags were blazing red, each carrying the eye-catching label viral. My account gained tens of thousands of followers overnight. My direct messages were completely jammed, filled with support from netizens, and mountains of dirt on the restaurant. Reporters from every major local outlet and television station came after me like sharks scenting blood, all fighting for an exclusive interview. But the biggest shock came when the Market Regulation Bureau's official account dropped into the comments, announcing it had received a flood of verified complaints. They would immediately form a special task force and launch a formal investigation into that dump, pursuing it to the end. The fire had truly been lit. The butterfly had only just flapped its wings, but a hurricane-force storm capable of uprooting this restaurant giant was already bearing down on it. That same morning, as soon as the stock market opened, the publicly listed parent company behind the restaurant saw its stock price plunge into freefall. It crashed 5% within half an hour of opening, wiping out hundreds of millions of yuan in market value. The public relations hotline at headquarters was probably being cursed so nonstop that the lines were about to smoke. Everything was falling apart. The entire group was scrambling to contain the damage. I sneered inwardly. That arrogant director Chen thought 5,000 yuan could buy my silence. By now, she probably wished she could die. That afternoon, an unfamiliar number came through on my phone. The instant I answered, a groveling voice came through, trembling with unmistakable fear. Hello. Is this Mr. Lin Feng? I head the public relations department at the restaurant group's headquarters. My name is Zhao. Mr. Lin, we deeply apologize for our staff's mindless, incompetent actions. We are on our knees begging your whole family for forgiveness. This was an unforgivable failure of management on our part. We accept full responsibility. Mr. Lin, whenever you are available, our group chairman would like to visit you personally to apologize to your parents. Hearing the pleading voice on the verge of tears, I felt nothing at all. If anything, I wanted to laugh. I had predicted this outcome all along. Give an inch, and capital's fangs will tear you apart. Only when you drive a blade into what it values most, its stock price and reputation, will it obediently kneel and beg like a dog. You choose the time and place. However, let me be clear from the start. I will bring my lawyer. I knew the enormous compensation for emotional distress I demanded was finally about to be mine. The negotiations were held at a 5-star hotel's private lounge, not at their own filthy, chaotic excuse for a restaurant. I brought my parents, along with my best friend, a top lawyer specializing in commercial litigation, and we arrived right on time. The restaurant group's chairman was there. He was just over 50, with graying hair, wearing an understated, high-collared suit. He even looked like a refined intellectual. Trailing behind him was Zhao from public relations, the man who had begged me on the phone. As for that fat manager and the arrogant director Chen, they had probably already been fired as scapegoats. The moment we stepped inside, the chairman sprang to his feet and scurried over to greet us. Without wasting a single word, he went straight to my parents and gave them a sudden, formal 90-degree bow. Sir, ma'am, I am deeply sorry. Our management was utterly incompetent. We let those fools under us ruin such a joyful day for you both and cause you such terrible distress. On behalf of the entire group, I offer you both my sincerest apology. That attitude was impossible to fault. It was the very best a public relations team could offer. My parents were simple, honest people. They had never seen anything like it. The chairman of a major corporation was bent over in a deep bow. My parents were so flustered, they did not know where to put their hands. I quickly steadied my mother, my gaze never wavering, and calmly accepted his apology. An apology was only a gesture. If they wanted to settle this, they needed to show real sincerity with real money. The moment we sat down, the chairman skipped all pleasantries. He placed an official group document on the table. That fat idiot, Zhao had already been fired, and his backer, Chen had been dismissed on the spot as well. Mr. Lin, no amount of money can erase your family's emotional trauma. But we will take responsibility for this. We must show you our sincerity. He signaled to Director Zhao beside him. A thick contract was pushed across the table. The lawyer I brought, my best friend, snatched it up and scanned it with radar-like focus. First, every expense your family paid this time, including legal fees and lost wages, anything connected to this matter, will be fully reimbursed by the group. Second, the group will provide 100,000 yuan in cash as compensation for your parents' emotional distress. Third, and their boldest move yet, we will put 200,000 yuan directly into an anti-fraud fund. The fund will bear your name, Mr. Lin, to help victims who have been scammed. Honestly, that combination of offers far exceeded what I had expected, especially the charity donation made in my name. These corporate sharks really thought fast. It was crisis management at its finest. They wanted to turn the stain into a shining badge of honor. But it was not enough. There was a bigger danger still on my mind. The money was more than fair, but I wanted to know more. How did they intend to eradicate the root cause of this mess? If it had been someone more vulnerable today, they would have been swallowed whole and left with nothing. The chairman's face darkened. He nodded solemnly. As he spoke, he pulled another official document from his bag. This was an ironclad order drafted overnight. It was designed to close every loophole behind outrageous bills. Beginning next Monday, the new rules will take effect at every branch nationwide. For any bill exceeding 3,000 yuan, the customer must use their own phone for facial verification and sign personally. No exceptions. If anyone secretly shifts or adds charges to another customer's bill again, even by a single cent, the manager responsible will be fired immediately, and the restaurant itself will cover the loss. We truly must thank you, Mr. Lin. You have been one tough nut to crack, Mr. Lin. You've dug out every festering problem in our group. You have spared everyone in this company from a catastrophic disaster. The old man straightened again and gave me a respectful bow. Watching this performance reach its end, I understood perfectly. The trap had been completely dismantled. The people who disgusted us had lost their jobs. The ones who caused the trouble had paid dearly, and the loophole plaguing this rotten industry had been sealed for good. My lawyer friend gave me a thumbs up. Only then did I, still stone-faced, accept this enormous settlement on my parents' behalf. A few days later, a major police bulletin, white text on blue, flooded every screen. Liu Gang, the lying con artist, had all his secrets exposed. He was behind bars, and he would not be getting out for years. The television station's hard-hitting anti-fraud program also aired in prime time while the story was still hot. The screen was filled with my textbook perfect comeback against impossible odds, while giving everyone in the city a hard lesson in protecting themselves from scams. As for me, I never showed so much as a strand of hair. Online, all that remained was the legend of the mysterious, formidable brother Lin. This absurd farce over an outrageous bill had finally come to a swift, satisfying end. One afternoon, Officer Wang suddenly patched through a confidential call. The voice that came through the receiver was Liu Xiaowei, the son of that scammer and deadbeat. The kid's voice was raw, like he'd swallowed razor blades. Even through the line, his utter exhaustion was almost palpable. Brother Lin, I'm sorry. I'm bothering you again. I watched the television program. The case is closed too. My dad went to prison. He deserves it. I heard about the restaurant settlement and that donation. I heard all about it. Thank you for not driving my mother and me to the point of jumping off a building. I found a part-time job these past few days. I carry dishes and wash plates in a kitchen. It does not pay much. Liu Xiaohui, you have a long road ahead of you. Do not carry the sins your father committed. Do not let his mess ruin the rest of your life. Hold your head high. Study as hard as you can. Live with honor. Do not pick up a single one of his rotten habits. That is the best comeback you can give him. The line fell silent at once. After a long while, I finally heard the faint sob he was desperately holding back. Clutching the 100,000 yuan I had just received, I did not waste any time. I immediately took care of two important things. First, I spared no expense on a premier private room in an exclusive chef-stable restaurant. I threw my parents another quiet celebration for their 30th anniversary. No ridiculous drama queens, and none of those contemptuous, prying eyes. Behind closed doors, the three of us ate in complete comfort, happier than ever. At the dinner table, my normally quiet father raised his wine glass on his own for the first time ever. The corners of his eyes reddened as he looked at his own son. I always thought that no matter how successful you were out there, you were still just an immature kid. I was terrified that society would chew you up and spit you out. But after this mess, I finally understood. This brat was already maxed out, decked in legendary gear. Now, he can shield this whole family from the bullets. From the bottom of my heart, I am truly impressed. Mom could not hold herself together beside us. Tears streamed down her cheeks. Thank goodness this brat is quick-witted. Otherwise, with these old bones of ours, we could have been sold like pigs and still applauded them for it. The three of us looked at one another's foolish faces and burst out laughing. All the humiliation and anger we'd bottled up vanished completely over that wonderful meal. After surviving that ordeal, our whole family was back on our feet again. The second thing, with the money I had left, I booked the trip my parents had dreamed about for years, a luxurious 7-day tour of Yunnan. Flights, hotels, and itinerary. I went all out, arranging premium service from beginning to end. At the airport terminal, I watched my parents, curious as children, study their boarding passes for ages, then take endless selfies with the planes beyond the windows. That feeling of achievement was better than winning the lottery. I had protected my own parents through my own strength, and made their dream come true besides. Hell, this felt even better than closing a financing deal worth tens of millions. In financing. Right before takeoff, my account notification chimed. It was a thank you letter from that restaurant's official social media account. It was packed with outright admissions of defeat and apologies. They thanked me for single-handedly turning around their group's disaster-ridden mess and bringing it back to life. The comments below had completely exploded. The screen was flooded with over-the-top praise. This is what it looks like when you outclass them completely. A textbook comeback from the brink. I bowed down to this legend. A merciful heart needs an iron fist. Crush those scoundrels. That was so satisfying to watch. He cleaned up the entire restaurant industry by himself. Brother, you're lightning. You're light, you're the one and only legend. Curled up in first class on the flight to Kunming, watching vast seas of clouds drift past the window, I felt strangely at peace. This 60,000 yuan scam they tried to pin on me had been like a test from hell. It put every card I had to the test. But the best part was, I aced that test with a game-breaking score.